I never thought a single touch could unravel everything I believed about family. It was just a brush of her hand against mine, late at night in the dim glow of our shared kitchen, but it lit something inside me I couldn't extinguish. Her name was Lily, my stepsister, and that moment, innocent to anyone watching, changed the way I saw her forever. We weren't blood, but we were family. Or so I thought. Living under one roof, our stolen glances turned into something dangerously real. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper in the dark, felt like a secret only we shared. But she's my stepsister. How do you bury a feeling that's already taken root in your soul? How do you stop when every look she gives you feels like a dare to cross a line you can't uncross? I'm not proud of what happened next, but I'm not sorry either. This isn't a story about right or wrong, it's about what happens when the heart wants what it shouldn't. When the world says no, but your body screams yes. When the person you're supposed to call family becomes the one you can't stop dreaming about. Have you ever felt a spark you knew was forbidden? A pull so strong it scared you? That's where this starts, on the edge of something thrilling, something dangerous, something that could tear our family apart. Stick with me, because this story doesn't end the way you think. It's messy, it's raw, and it's real. Let me take you back to how it all began. My name's Ethan, and I was 19 when my dad remarried. His new wife, Claire, brought Lily into our lives. She was 21, confident, with this quiet intensity that made you feel like she saw right through you. Her dark eyes seemed to hold secrets, and her half-smile could make you forget what you were saying. We weren't kids anymore, but we were thrown together like we were sharing a house, a dinner table, a life. Our parents were so wrapped up in their new marriage they didn't notice the tension brewing. The way the air seemed to shift when Lily and I were in the same room. The way I'd catch myself holding my breath when she walked by. Lily and I didn't talk much at first. She'd sit across from me at breakfast, scrolling her phone, her dark hair falling over one eye. I'd catch myself staring, then look away, guilty. She was my stepsister, for God's sake. But there was something about her, the way she'd laugh at my dumb jokes, her voice low and warm, like she was letting me in on something private. The way her fingers would linger on the edge of a glass, or how she'd tilt her head when she listened, like she really heard me. It wasn't just attraction, it was connection. Like we both knew something the rest of the house didn't. Our house was big but felt small. Every room carried the weight of unspoken rules. Don't get too close. Don't linger too long. Don't let anyone see the way your heart races when she walks by. The walls seemed to watch us, the silence heavy with expectation. But late at night, when the house was quiet, we'd end up in the same spaces, grabbing water from the kitchen, passing in the hallway, our eyes locking for a second too long. It was innocent, or so I told myself. Just two people living in the same house, sharing the same air. But every moment felt like it was building to something, like a storm gathering on the horizon. One night, everything shifted. I was up late studying, the house dark except for the glow of my laptop. Lily came downstairs in a loose t-shirt, her hair messy from sleep, her bare feet silent on the tile. She didn't say anything at first, just leaned against the counter, watching me. "Can't sleep?" she asked, her voice low, almost a whisper. I shook my head, my throat tight. She stepped closer, her bare arm brushing mine as she reached for a glass. That touch, it wasn't nothing. It was fire. A jolt that shot through me, waking up every nerve. I froze, my heart pounding so loud I swore she could hear it. She didn't move away. Instead, she looked at me, her eyes searching mine, like she was waiting for me to say something. I didn't. I couldn't. My mind was a mess of guilt and want, screaming at me to step back but rooting me to the spot. That moment planted a seed I couldn't ignore. From then on, every interaction felt charged. A glance at dinner that lasted too long. A laugh that lingered in the air, heavy with meaning. The way she'd say my name, like it was a secret we both carried. I started noticing things, how she'd leave her door open just a crack when she knew I was passing by, how she'd find excuses to sit closer on the couch during family movie nights. Was I imagining it? Was she feeling it too? Or was I just a kid with a crush, reading too much into nothing? The guilt ate at me, gnawing at the edges of every thought. She was my stepsister. My family. But the want was stronger, a pull I couldn't explain, like gravity drawing me closer no matter how hard I fought it. I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering what was wrong with me. Why couldn't I just stop? Why did every moment with her feel like it was pulling me towards something I couldn't name? Months passed, and the tension grew heavier, like a weight pressing down on my chest. It wasn't just glances anymore. It was conversations that stretched too long, silences that said too much. We'd find ourselves alone more often, not by accident but by some unspoken agreement. One night, we were both up late, the rest of the house asleep. The living room was dark, the TV casting flickering shadows on the walls. We were watching some old movie, sitting closer than we should have on the couch. Her knee brushed mine, and neither of us moved. My pulse raced, my mind screaming to pull away, but my body wouldn't listen. It was like every nerve was tuned to her, every breath synchronized. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the movie. "Do you ever feel trapped?" I swallowed hard, my mouth dry. Trapped how? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned to face me, her eyes catching the flicker of the screen, glinting with something I couldn't read. "Like you're living someone else's rules," she said. "Like you're not allowed to want what you want." My stomach twisted. Was she talking about us? Or was I projecting my own messed up feelings? I wanted to ask, but the words stuck in my throat, heavy and sharp. Instead, I just nodded, my voice barely a whisper. "Yeah. All the time." She leaned closer, her breath warm against my cheek, her hair brushing my shoulder. "What do you want, Ethan?" The question hung in the air, heavy and dangerous. I froze. The air felt thick, like it was pressing down on us, trapping us in that moment. My mind screamed to change the subject, to laugh it off, to leave. But my heart was louder, pounding so hard I thought it might break through my chest. "I don't know," I lied, my voice shaking. She didn't buy it. Her hand grazed mine, deliberate this time, her fingers lingering just long enough to send a shiver down my spine. I didn't pull away. "Liar," she said softly, a small smile tugging at her lips. That smile, it was dangerous. It was an invitation, a challenge, a promise. We didn't kiss that night. We didn't even touch again. But something shifted, like a line had been crossed without either of us moving. After that, the house felt different. Every moment we were alone was a risk, a chance for something to happen. I started avoiding her, thinking distance would dull the ache, but it didn't help. The more I tried to bury it, the stronger it got. I'd lie awake at night, imagining her just down the hall, wondering if she was thinking of me too. Was she lying awake, wrestling with the same guilt? Or was she sleeping soundly, unbothered by the chaos she'd sparked in me? Then came the night that broke everything. It was a family dinner, everyone laughing and talking, the table cluttered with plates and half-empty wine glasses. But I could barely focus. Lily was sitting across from me, her dark hair pulled back, her eyes catching the light from the chandelier. She looked calm, composed, but then her foot brushed mine under the table. I thought it was an accident at first, a careless bump. But then it happened again, slow, intentional, her toe tracing a line against my ankle. My breath caught, sharp and sudden. I glanced at her, and she was staring right at me, her expression unreadable, her lips parted just enough to make my heart stutter. My dad and Claire were oblivious, lost in their own conversation about some vacation they were planning. But I felt like the whole room could hear my heartbeat, loud and erratic, betraying me with every thump. I tried to focus on my food, on the clink of forks, on anything but her, but my skin was buzzing, alive with the memory of her touch. Later, when everyone else was asleep, I found her in the kitchen again. She was washing dishes, her back to me, her movements slow and deliberate. The sink hissed softly, the only sound in the quiet house. I should have walked away, gone back to my room, locked the door on whatever this was. But I didn't. "Lily," I said, my voice shaking, barely above a whisper. She turned, her hands still wet, soap dripping onto the floor. She looked at me like she knew exactly what I was about to say, her eyes dark and steady. "Why do you keep doing this?" I asked, the words spilling out before I could stop them. The looks, the touches, what are you doing? She stepped closer, so close I could smell her shampoo, floral and faint. The air between us felt charged, like a storm about to break. I could ask you the same thing, she said, her voice low and even. You're not innocent in this, Ethan. I wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, that I was just caught in her orbit, helpless. But she wasn't wrong. I was just as guilty, just as drawn to the edge. This can't happen, I said, but the words sounded weak, like I was trying to convince myself more than her. Then why are you here? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper, her eyes searching mine. I didn't have an answer. Or maybe I did, but I was too scared to say it out loud. We stood there, inches apart, the silence screaming with everything we weren't saying. Then she reached out, her fingers brushing my wrist, light but deliberate, and I didn't stop her. I couldn't. That touch was a spark, igniting something I'd been trying to smother for months. That was the moment it stopped being a game. The moment we both knew we were in too deep. But the house wasn't safe. Every creak of the floorboards, every shadow on the wall, reminded us someone could walk in. Our parents, our siblings, they'd never understand. The fear of getting caught was as strong as the pull between us, a constant tug-of-war between want and dread. And maybe that fear made it worse, or maybe it made it better, sharpening every moment, making every touch feel like it could be the last. The next few weeks were a blur of stolen moments. A brush of hands in the hallway, her fingers lingering just a second too long. A whispered conversation in the laundry room, our voices low and urgent, like spies in our own home. Every time, I told myself it was the last time, that I'd stop, that I'd be the good son, the good brother. But it never was. The guilt was crushing, a weight that sat heavy on my chest, but the want was stronger, a fire that burned hotter with every look, every touch. I started noticing things I hadn't before. How Lily would tense when Claire hugged her, her shoulders stiff, her smile forced. How she'd avoid looking at me when our parents were around, like she was afraid they'd see something in her eyes. Was she as torn as I was? Or was she just better at hiding it, at pretending everything was normal? One night, I overheard her on the phone, her voice low and angry, the words muffled through her closed door. I can't keep doing this, she said. It's tearing me apart. My heart stopped, cold and heavy in my chest. Was she talking about me? About us? Or was there something else going on, something I didn't know? The doubt crept in, slithering through my thoughts, mixing with the guilt and the desire until I didn't know what I felt anymore. Was this real for her, or was I just a mistake she was trying to undo? The deeper we fell, the more complicated it got. It wasn't just about us anymore, it was about the family we were betraying, the life we were risking. Every stolen touch felt like a lie, a secret we were piling on top of a house already creaking under the weight of too many expectations. Lily started acting strange, distant one moment, then closer than ever the next. I'd catch her staring at me, her eyes full of something I couldn't read, regret, maybe, or fear, or something deeper. It made me question everything. Was she playing with me? Was this just a thrill for her, a way to rebel against the rules of our new family? Or was she as lost in this as I was, drowning in the same mix of guilt and need? One afternoon, we were alone in the house, a rare moment when our parents were out, the silence heavy with possibility. We were in the living room, pretending to watch TV, but the air was thick with tension. She was sitting on the couch, her legs tucked under her, her fingers twisting the hem of her shirt. I was on the floor, leaning against the couch, trying to focus on anything but the way her knee was inches from my shoulder. Ethan, she said suddenly, her voice soft but serious, cutting through the hum of the TV. We need to talk. My stomach dropped, a cold knot forming in my gut. About what? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. She hesitated, like she was choosing her words carefully, her fingers stilling on her shirt. This thing between us, she said. It's not just nothing, is it? I looked at her, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Her eyes were locked on mine, searching, waiting. No, I admitted, the word heavy on my tongue. It's not nothing. She nodded, like she'd been expecting that, like she'd been carrying the same weight I had. But it's wrong, she said, her voice barely audible. You know that, right? I did. Of course I did. But hearing her say it out loud made it real in a way it hadn't been before, like a door slamming shut on something I wasn't ready to let go. Yeah, I said, my voice breaking. But I don't know how to stop. She looked away, her jaw tight, her fingers curling into fists. Me neither, she whispered. That conversation didn't fix anything. If anything, it made it worse. Because now we'd said it out loud, given it a name, made it real. We'd admitted it wasn't just a crush, not just a fleeting attraction. It was something deeper, something that scared us both, something that felt like it could swallow us whole. And that made it harder to pull back, harder to pretend we could go back to being just step-siblings. The next few weeks were a tightrope walk, a delicate balance between avoidance and surrender. We'd avoid each other for days, passing in the hallway without a word, our eyes fixed on the floor. But then we'd end up alone, unable to resist, drawn together like magnets. One night, we were in her room, stupid, reckless, but the house was empty, and the pull was too strong. She was showing me some old photos on her laptop, her shoulder pressed against mine, the heat of her body seeping into me. The air felt electric, every movement deliberate, every breath heavy with intent. When her hand brushed my thigh, I didn't move away. Neither did she. Ethan, she whispered, her voice trembling, barely audible over the hum of the laptop. What are we doing? I didn't know how to answer. My mind was a mess, torn between guilt and desire, between what I knew was right and what I wanted more than anything. I don't know, I said, but I leaned closer, my heart pounding. Our lips were inches apart, the world shrinking to just us, the space between us charged with everything we'd been holding back. I could feel her breath, warm and uneven, see the uncertainty in her eyes, mirroring my own. And then we kissed. It wasn't soft or tentative, it was desperate, hungry, like we'd been holding it back for months. Maybe we had. That kiss changed everything. It wasn't just a moment, it was a decision, a line we couldn't uncross. When we pulled apart, her eyes were wide, her breath ragged, like she was just as shocked as I was. We can't tell anyone, she said, her voice urgent, almost panicked. Ever. I know, I said, but the weight of it hit me hard, a cold reality settling in my chest. This wasn't just about us anymore. It was about our parents, our family, the life we'd built. If anyone found out, it would destroy everything: our parents' marriage, our place in the family, the fragile balance we'd all been clinging to. The secrecy only made it more intense, like a fire fed by the fear of being caught. We'd steal moments when we could, late at night, in the car, anywhere we wouldn't be seen. A brush of hands in the dark, a whispered word that felt like a vow. But the fear was always there, lurking in the background, a shadow that followed every step. One wrong move, one slip, and it would all come crashing down. I started noticing things I hadn't before: how Claire would watch us sometimes, her eyes narrowing like she sensed something was off, like she could feel the tension in the air. How my dad would ask if everything was okay, his tone too casual to be genuine, like he was fishing for something he didn't want to name. Were we being careless? Or was I just paranoid, seeing suspicion where there was none? Then came the night that almost broke us. We were in the garage, talking in hushed voices, our words clipped and urgent. The air was cold, the concrete floor hard under our feet, but we were too caught up to care. Then we heard it, the front door opening, the unmistakable sound of keys jingling. We froze, our hearts pounding, the air thick with panic. It was Claire, home early from her book club. We scrambled to act normal, Lily grabbing a box of old junk to pretend she was organizing, me fumbling with my phone like I'd been scrolling. Claire walked in, her eyes flicking between us, her smile tight. "What are you two doing out here?" she asked, her tone light but sharp, like she was testing us. "Just cleaning up," Lily said, her voice too quick, too high. I nodded, my throat tight, my heart still racing. Later, when Claire was upstairs, Lily pulled me aside, her eyes wide with fear. "This is too close," she whispered. "We have to stop." But we didn't. We couldn't. Every time we tried, something pulled us back: a look, a touch, a moment that felt too right to let go. The guilt was a constant weight, heavy and unrelenting, but so was the need, a fire that burned hotter with every stolen moment. I started wondering what would happen if we got caught. Would our parents hate us? Would they kick us out, force us to choose between our feelings and our family? Or worse, would they pretend it never happened, leaving us to carry the secret alone, a wound that would never heal? Lily started pulling away again, her texts shorter, her smiles forced, her eyes avoiding mine. I'd catch her staring out the window, lost in thought, her fingers twisting the hem of her shirt like she was unraveling inside. It scared me. Was she regretting it? Was she done? One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I cornered her in the hallway, the house dark and quiet around us. "What's going on, Lily?" I asked, my voice low, urgent. "Are you done with this?" She looked at me, her eyes full of something I couldn't place, pain, maybe, or fear, or something deeper. "It's not that simple," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "You don't know everything." "What don't I know?" I pressed, my heart pounding, but she just shook her head, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I can't," she said, and walked away, leaving me standing there, alone in the dark. That was when I realized there was more to this than I understood, something she wasn't telling me, something that could change everything. The doubt gnawed at me, a constant ache that kept me up at night. Was she hiding something? Was there someone else? Or was it just the weight of what we were doing, pulling her under like it was pulling me? I didn't know, and the not knowing was worse than anything. The days that followed were a blur of tension and silence. We barely spoke, but the air between us was heavy with everything we weren't saying. I'd catch her watching me sometimes, her expression unreadable, like she was trying to decide something. I wanted to ask, to demand answers, but I was too afraid of what she'd say. Too afraid that whatever this was, love, lust, or something in between, was slipping away. Then, one night, everything fell apart. I was in my room, trying to focus on anything but her, when I found a letter slipped under my door, written in Lily's familiar handwriting. My hand shook as I opened it. "I'm leaving," it said. "Not because I don't care, but because I care too much. We can't keep doing this. It's not just about us anymore." The words hit me like a punch, stealing my breath. I read it again, then again, trying to make sense of it. Leaving? Where? Why? The next morning, I heard her talking to Claire in the kitchen, her voice steady but strained. She was moving out, going to stay with a friend across the country. She didn't look at me as she packed her bags, her movements quick and mechanical, like she was trying to outrun something. I wanted to stop her, to beg her to stay, to tell her we could figure it out. But I didn't. I just stood there, watching her walk away, the distance between us growing with every step. I saw the tears in her eyes, though, and I knew she was running from the same thing I was, something too big, too dangerous, too real. The twist came later, when I overheard Claire talking to my dad. Lily wasn't just leaving because of us. She'd been accepted to a program abroad, something she'd applied for months ago, before we ever crossed that line. She hadn't told me because she didn't want me to feel like I was holding her back. But I did. I still do. She'd known all along that this us was temporary, a flame that would burn out when she left. And maybe that's why she let it happen, why she let us fall so deep. Because she knew there was an end, a way out. But I didn't. I was in it, all in, and now I was left with nothing but memories and a secret I'd carry forever. Now, the house feels empty without her, like the air itself is thinner, harder to breathe. I walk past her room sometimes, the door closed, the space inside silent. I'm left with the echoes of stolen moments, her hand on mine, her breath against my cheek, the way her eyes held mine like I was the only thing that mattered. Was it love? Lust? Or just two people caught in something they couldn't control? I don't know. All I know is that some flames burn too bright to last, leaving nothing but ash in their wake. Have you ever felt forbidden sparks with someone off limits? A pull so strong it scared you, but you couldn't walk away? Spill in the comments and let's talk about it. If this story hit you hard, share it anonymously, your story might be next. Or just comment yes if you'd fight for hidden love, or no if family comes first. Vote now, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that dig deep into the heart's darkest corners.